Hey, everybody, welcome to another conversation 50 conversations with 50 strangers. The truth of the matter is, this is 50 more conversations with 50 more strangers. That doesn't mean the people are stranger than the ones that I met before. It just means there's more people. When I put this out, it was because I wrote a book called The Mosaic, which is hovering over my left shoulder. And in that book, it's the story of a boy who loses his parents 2 years apart on the same day. And when he asks the adults where his parents are, they tell him they're in a place called heaven. So he sets out immediately that moment in search of the place called heaven because he can't wait to see his parents again and to feel the unconditional love he felt with them as a kid. And the people that he meets along the way are not the people you would imagine he would meet. They're not the rabbis and the priests and the ministers and the swamis and the gurus and the shamans and the aborigines elders and the medicine men and women. They're the trash man and the road worker, the homeless man and the blind woman. And he wonders, why am I meeting these people? They seem so ordinary. And he gets a thought, well, why don't you just sit with them and listen to them? And in 100% of the cases, what happens is when he sits with them and hears their story, he sees that the person he initially came upon is not at all the person that he knows now. And in just a very short period of time, he sees something. These people are totally different than he thought. And it happens over and over and over again. And so he starts to question his own belief system. And he wonders, does he see anything the way it is, or does he see everything the way he is? And when I finished the book, it told me, get out on the road and do what Mo did. I want you to travel town to town, village to village, street to street. I want you to go to boardrooms and hospitals and homeless shelters and jails. I want you to go to places where people of hate gather and people of love gather. And I want you to just sit with them and listen to their stories. And I set a line in the sand to go March 1st of this year to start my trip, not knowing how I would go or where I would go to. And 2 weeks before that, Mr. COVID came to town and said, "You're not going anywhere." So I thought, well, I'll put it out to the world and I'll have conversations online. And I said to people, I was going to do this trip. I'm willing to have conversations. I said, anybody want to talk, please contact me. I got crickets. Nobody was interested. Nobody wanted to say anything. But here's something really interesting that is one of the things that I want to share with people. When I put it out as 50 conversations with 50 strangers, somehow there was a magnetism to that. People started to respond. I've had over 50 conversations in a week and a half. Whereas before I got crickets when I said the same thing. There's no difference of what I was going to do then and what I'm going to do now. Just the title of what I presented was magnetic enough that people felt drawn to it and wanted to do it and wanted to take a risk. So it's important for anybody listening to communicate in a way that will magnetize energy towards what you're doing. With that in mind, it's starting to sound like my normal way of speaking, which is a soliloquy rather than a conversation. And so I want to introduce you today to Diane Ray. And Diane, how are you? Welcome to 50 Conversations.
I'm good. How are you? Am I 51?
You are now like 58. And that's not your
Glad I could
age.
help.
That's not your age. That is,
Not yet.
the number. Um, so because maybe people know you, maybe they don't, but because I only know you a little bit, we've had some conversations, and I love what you're doing. I even just did a podcast with you yesterday that is out already. So I do know you a little bit, but I'm going to do the format that I do with everybody, which is I say to people, tell us who you are and what's important to you.
Sure. Well, let's see. How can I start? I'm Diane Ray, living here in San Diego. Danny and I have crossed paths through our work at Hay House. So we both love, personal development and growth and spirituality and being the best that you can be, which I'm sure is one of the reasons that brought us together. And I am the program director director of unityonlineradio.org, which is a nonprofit organization. And I manage their online radio and podcast network, which is a lot of fun. We've been building that up for the past 3 years. So I hope you go and check it out. Check out some of the amazing shows and hosts that we have over there. And I'm also a podcaster too. I'm an old radio gal, and I've been doing my show on Unity since about 2018. So it's called Be Present, the Diane Ray Show. And I hope you join me in the search, join me on the journey.
Fabulous. So, Diane, what's important to you?
What's important to me right now at this moment, I guess what would be important to me would be to get through the upcoming election, get through COVID, hopefully be able to see friends and family again. I'm feeling the situation that we're in with COVID just as much as everybody else, kind of, fighting feelings, fighting, hopelessness and depression and all those things. I think we're all kind of experiencing it. And I was thinking maybe I'm absorbing a little bit of the collective, like our collective kind of consciousness of the upheaval that we're all going through right now. So I guess it's important to me to try to maintain a sense of knowing that it's going to be okay, and I have varying degrees of success with that.
Yeah.
But I'm working on it. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to hang in there like everyone.
It's so interesting because I have a friend who always cautions me when I say everybody is, or we are all. And we are both from, spent some time with Louise, who were very sure of our words. And we spoke about that in our podcast yesterday. But I want to exclude myself from that category of people that you mentioned, not because I don't understand that there is a category of people there, but I'm an ex-monk. I spent 10 years in a monastery. So when COVID came, I felt like, boy, this is like I died and went to heaven. I'm back in my monastery. And I have my family here, which is people that I love and adore, and they're here with me. And I have the silence of my space. And I'm not lamenting that or fearing that or afraid of that or wishing it were any different. I'm actually just so thoroughly enjoying the freedom of what the solitude gives to me. Because for me, for instance, I sat and when I was meditating one morning, it said, if you can't go outside, invite people to go inside. Because that's where I think a lot of this blessing will come from in this time, is that we don't know ourselves inside that much. We know how to fill our time up with things that we do. But for a lot of us, sitting in the silence of the space is hard. And so I love that COVID would come and say to people, I'm going to take away some of that and see what happens to you. But for me,
It's interesting.
being a monk, for me, that's my first love.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that about you. That's interesting.
Yeah, 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So, um, what do you feel about what I just said?
It's funny when you said that first, I kind of keyed in on the fact when you said that you were a monk, and it made me think of when I was in the second grade, the teacher asked us to draw pictures of what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I drew a nun.
Wow.
So it's funny. I think I in a way, I kind of vibe with you on like wanting that cloistered life.
Yeah.
And I remember turning the picture in and getting kind of a look of disapproval, like, why would you do that? And I was embarrassed that I drew that. So I went back and drew a ballerina, and
wow.
I got a better response.
Wow. Was the
Because
ballerina wearing a habit?
No, she was like in full,
tutu.
Yeah, full tutu, and doing the on point and everything. So yeah, that's what made me think of that.
Interesting. So why do you think the world does that? Why do you think the world asks us what do we want to be, and when we share with them what we want to be, they judge it and criticize it and tell us it's not right?
Right. I think it's kind of automatic. I read somewhere, I don't know what the amount of seconds is, but I think we make, a certain amount of judgments in like the first, 5 to 7 seconds
Yeah.
of meeting someone. And a
Yeah.
lot of times those judgments are wrong.
Yeah.
you know I mean, I'm sure, like, I'm just looking at you, you've got the beard and everything very sage like, but by the same token, if you went outside and put on a ratty shirt or something else and messed up your hair,
Yeah.
someone might throw a quarter at you,
Yeah. No,
and make that assumption,
totally.
which is totally wrong.
I,
So
I
it's interesting, right?
it isn't totally wrong.
Judgments we make.
I say to people, I'm one step away from homeless and one step away from wise guy, so I think that it fits perfectly. But a lot of what this moment in this room is all about, a lot of what my book, The Mosaic, is all about, is we've heard it growing up that you can't judge a book by its cover, but we all
Mhm.
do. We all take that first 5 or 7 seconds and assume that this is what this person is. This is who this person is. And I remember several years ago, now quite a few years ago, I guess, I went um, into, I was doing some more speaking than I'm doing now. And my speaking brought me into boardrooms across the country. And I would walk into boardrooms where people were wearing three-piece suits or pantsuits, or women were wearing, two-piece suits. And I would come in a t-shirt and jeans. And I remember walking into one boardroom in particular, and they said, I'm sorry, we're about to have a meeting here. Can we help you? And I said, yeah, no, I know you're about to have a meeting. I'm here for that meeting. And they said, well, are you coming to pick up the trash? And I said, yeah, I guess you could say in some ways that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm coming to sort of take a look at what the trash of this room. Take a look at some of these preconceived notions, because you've hired me to come here to talk to you about innovation. By the way, how do you feel you're doing right now?
And what was the response? Just
And they said,
shock.
we're not doing well at all. And I said, most of the time people want someone who looks just like them to teach them how to look different. You were wise enough to have someone who doesn't look like you to show you how to think different, because I do think different. But now the question is, will you block that with your ism of wanting everybody to be the same? That's the
That's
first
interesting.
question on the table for you, right?
That's interesting. I would have liked to have heard that meeting.
Yeah. They said it was one of the most innovative processes they've ever gone through, because it just from the start, like, I'm a big guy, so I walk into a room and I tend to be a little clumsy, so I knock over tables, partially on purpose. And I say to people, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, we knocked that over. I'll help you pick up what stuff you want to have back on. But do you want all this back on your table again? I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. Why don't we just take the things you want to put back on your table, and let's just throw away the rest? What do you think?" And they said, "That'd be great." And normally a third of the table comes back onto the table, not much more. And that's the beauty of innovation, in my mind. But this isn't about me. I'm talking too much. I apologize. Diane, what makes you happy?
What makes me happy? Um, being with friends and family, um, a nice glass of wine, the ocean. Um, what else? Reading, eating. Did I say eating already? No.
No, you can say it a few more times.
Okay. Food. My husband cooks, so it's kind of a good it's a good match with that. Um, yeah, I mean, and I think that's what's so difficult for some people, being in this weird time, is we're having to reach out a little differently. I've had Zoom call happy hours and meetings with friends and things like that, but I miss seeing them, in person. I miss my family. I haven't seen my sister yet once this year. I mean, we talk all the time, but
Yeah.
we would always do trips and, travel. And so I do miss that. I miss that connection with people. So yeah, being with friends and family, being happy. Um,
So
that's what makes me happy.
let's circle back a little bit to what you first said, because and what you're saying now, which is that COVID has put a big gap, and you feel the pain of not being around with people. And so
Yes.
so what makes you happy in these moments of COVID where you can't have the things that make you happy normally?
Well, being able to connect, having a nice phone call, catch up with people. I think maybe one good thing that has come out of this is, some people have popped up that I haven't spoken to in a long time, and we've been able to reconnect.
I.e. me.
Which has been really nice. Yes, being able to connect with you has been great. Um, oh yeah, now, like, I try to get outside as much as I can. That'll make me happy. Taking walks, getting out to the beach, um, trying to be grateful for, really what I'm experiencing is nothing compared to someone, in Ethiopia or,
Yeah,
some other country that's really lacking,
yeah,
uh, being happy knowing that there's people that care about me, and
yeah.
try
Beautiful.
not to compare to others too much.
It the reason why I ask, and I always ask that same question, is no matter what our plight is in life, and I don't mean to downplay the fact that some people are really going through suffering and pain, the people that have died in this situation, the people that have gotten really sick. I don't mean to Pollyanny over that, but there's always some kernel of something that we can be happy about. And I think Wayne Dyer, who we spoke about yesterday in our podcast, who I was, you know, fortunate enough to be friends with, and so were you. Um, he said something that always touched me, which is when we change the way we see the world we see changes. And so when we focus on the things that are problems, it's we see problems. But when we look for those little spots, like a mosaic, sometimes the pieces connect just corner to corner. And but that connection of that corner, which was they don't share anything else in common but that corner, is enough to keep the mosaic whole and keep the flow of the mosaic going. And so I wonder sometimes what are the connection points that we really look at that make our life what they make it? What would be one connection point that you haven't connected with that you could connect with that would change the trajectory of your life?
A connection point that I haven't
Yeah.
connected with, I guess maybe realizing that no matter what your interaction that with other people that you may think is insignificant, you're still touching them in some way. There's ripples that go out. What you put out there, what you put out on social, um, interactions that you have with people. You're always constantly putting your energy out there. And you know and another great teacher like Wayne, this meditation teacher that I met at Hay House, David G, he would always say, there's a ripple. You always cause a ripple. So I guess being more aware of that, and what my piece of that is, my participation in that.
Love that. Love that. If people would be more aware of their ripple, I think it would change the way the whole world looks because we unconsciously ripple sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Let's have fun a little bit. Let's change this. I suck at lightning rounds, but let's give it a try. Okay.
Okay, I'll do my best.
First couple of questions are going to be easy, but after that, we won't do well. I promise.
Okay.
Um, are you a dog or a cat person?
Cat person.
Okay.
I have two cats.
Two cats. Okay. How about coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee. Okay. I initially was trying to see if there was a correlation if dog people were more coffee people and cat people were more tea people, but it got blown out of the water after 5 or 6 conversations. So there is no correlation. Would you say that you're someone who is in the box or someone that is out of the box?
Oh, I'm in, but always trying to poke my head out.
Tell me about that.
I'm a creature of habit. I am. I don't know if that's being a Cancer. I know that's one of the Cancerian traits. We like to huddle in. We're kind of homebodies, which is true. But then I do like to get out, And it was funny. I noticed I used to do a walk all the time near my old apartment. I would walk up and down First Avenue going towards downtown, and I always walk on the same side of the street. And I found myself doing the same thing all the time. And I'm like, what would happen if I did it this way? And I'd feel a little twinge of discomfort. I'm not
Wow.
walking the same way. So I would kind of force myself to walk a different route, do a different path, because it would be my my comfort zone to keep walking in the same path.
Wow.
So I'd have to admit and say I'm in the box, but I know that I don't want to stay in the box. So
Wow.
I try to get out. I poke my head out.
I did some work a while back with a guy. I guess you would call him a profiler. I don't think he was a profiler. He actually worked with people that were being hunted down,
Mm-hmm.
and looking at the tendencies that they had and watching how easy it was to be able to find people because they follow the same paths. They walk the same way to work. They go to the same restaurants. They do. And his whole methodology was he would walk with people and have them every day think that there were people waiting for him to follow him on the path that they normally walked on, and to divert, to go to someplace else, to go to a different restaurant, to say the stories they said differently. It was really interesting to see what happened. And people's lives really changed as a result of it. So
We're creatures of habit, and I don't want to be that predictable. So
yeah.
I fight it.
So what keeps you in the box?
I don't know, maybe habit, little bit of fear of the unknown.
What keeps you in the box when you were always wanting to peek out? Like, I would
Right.
understand if you're in the box and happy there and you didn't, but like you peek out and you think you want to be out of the box. But so what keeps you from going out of the box?
I think just being lazy, you know, just being in the comfort zone and okay, this is how it's going to be. But the past couple of years since I took this, new project with Unity, I left, what was old and comfortable, although it was kind of becoming a little too tight, after 11 years, and took a new situation where I had to kind of, I had to learn new computer systems and new programs and push myself you know, to learn something new. And I think so, sometimes you get into the old, don't teach the old dog new tricks kind of thing, but you can always learn something new.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I try to do that. And I do like to learn something new. And I get a great sense of accomplishment where, like I have this program I had to learn for scheduling commercials and things on the radio network. And this poor woman, I would call her at technical support, and I could hear her kind of sigh when I'd say, "Oh, it's Diane from Unity." I'm like, "Hi, Nancy," and she'd go, "Hi," because she knew it would be like a
Right.
long phone call,
Right.
But I go, "Please." I mean, it was so funny. I would beg this woman. I'm like, I'll pay you money to do this," because I was just so resistant. And
Yeah.
I finally, I had to learn it, so I learned it.
Yeah. And then did life become easier for you, or was it just more stressful?
It became easier. Like now I know how to do it,
Yeah.
and it's okay. But I was so frustrated and
Yeah.
angry, and I was begging her, please, I'll pay you. She's like, well, I can't really do that. It's like, I'll give you $200
Oh
if
my
you
God.
do this for me. And she's like, no, you can do it, and so I just kind of was like algebra. I just kind of beat myself over the head with it until I finally had to figure it out, because no one was going to do it,
Yeah.
but me. I had to do it.
Yeah.
And you learn. You can learn, it's
Well, they seem to say that pain is one of our greatest motivators, and yet I've always grown up wishing that were not true. I wish happiness was our motivator, and we didn't have to go through a life where we let it ourselves get to a place of pain and suffering. But I
right.
see it also just in my life. The pains in my body motivate me to live my life differently, or different pains that I've had have motivated me to leave situations, or so it's powerful. What pain can do. Um, I know both of these are important, but for you, more important right now? Is it more important for you to be able to speak your voice? Is it more important for you to have a voice, to have a message, to speak it and to be heard? Or is it more important for you to create a platform for other people to speak their truths than for you to just be able to listen to them?
That's interesting. I think I'd have to say probably the latter in creating the safe space and being the listener,
Yeah.
because I really enjoy that, and I really feel comfortable doing that. And I think it is important to let people's voices be heard. And I think I can lend my voice to ones that are out there, supporting things that I support as well. And I can add my voice to that chorus. But I don't feel a driving need to really, I don't feel that I have a message that's not already out there,
Yeah.
you know? Um,
It's so interesting because when I started this, one of the reasons I started it was because I felt like every person had something to say. Like, I'm not a big Wayne Dyer fan in general, but here's the second time in this conversation I'm going to say it. Um, that he said, "Don't die with your music still inside you."
yes.
Right. And so I felt like there is always this desire for everybody in the world wants to be heard, wants to be able to know that people are listening to them and hear them and acknowledge them and validate them. And yet it may be the marketplace of people that I'm gathering to myself, but so many of the people that I'm speaking to are choosing that second option. So the whole premise for starting this show of having a vehicle for people to be able to speak their voice is really turning into gathering a group of people who would rather listen and hold the space for other people to say what they want to say. It surprises me.
It's interesting. Well, to be supportive, I think maybe, I mean, I don't have kids. Maybe it's the a kind of a leftover maternal instinct of not being able to put that energy into that space where
Yeah.
I find that I like to be the person that people turn to, when it hits the fan, or when they need that space, or they need to be supported and have a place to do their thing. And I like to do my thing too. And and that's why I still love radio, and I still do that. um, that's still fun for me. I'd like that to continue. It just makes me think of something that recently happened. Growing up, I had like a kind of a contentious relationship with my brother, and I'm older than he is. And he had a major life event happen, and I didn't think he would ever call me for support, but he did. And it kind of has led to a new relationship between us. And he confided to my other sister that, like, they both look to me for that support.
Wow.
My brother was like, well, if something goes wrong, I'll just call Diane, and she'll figure it out, or she'll listen, and I like that made me feel good.
Yeah. Why wouldn't it? I mean, that's beautiful. Would you say that you fit into the world or that you're different?
Well, I don't know how different. I mean, I'm sure we're all different. You could say that. Well, we're all different. Um, I think maybe I'm different in that I like to think I'll ask questions. I'll always wonder. I'll always seek and hope and look for things.
So let me
I don't,
clarify a little bit
I don't know
more.
if I'm alone in that.
No, let me clarify a little. Have you felt like you've always fit into the world, or have you felt like you've always been different?
Oh, when I was younger, I felt that I was, the weirdo or different or misunderstood.
And
Uh,
now?
I think I've come into my own a little bit more. I think that happens when you turn 50.
Okay. I'm 65, and I guess I'm still waiting to feel 50. um,
Gets a little easier.
yeah. Would you say you operate from your head more or your heart?
Oh, I'd have to say my heart. I really try to tap into that. And I've learned it's taken time to learn that. Like you learn meditation techniques, or that's one thing that's really been helpful. You mentioned that you like to meditate, and I never really knew how to get quiet and listen to that,
Yeah.
listen to that voice. And I think I've gotten better at it, and I still need to work at it. I try to like, I'll pull my own cards. Like I like to, I'll pull tarot cards and things like that, just to, not really so much as a oracle or to, you know what I mean? Like to find something predetermined that's going to happen, but more to like kind of a tool to touch base within myself,
Yeah.
to listen to that. But I think that takes practice,
Yeah.
to really get to that point. And so that's something I've continually been trying to work on,
Beautiful.
to come from my heart. Yeah. I think that's
So
important.
when you say you've been working on it, does that mean that initially your instinct is to come from your head? Why is it something you have to work on?
I think, yeah, just coming from your head, sometimes you'll make a rash decision. You'll send that email that you shouldn't send. You'll make that comment. And when you take a minute and don't do that, and I've had to learn that the hard way,
Yeah.
firing off that email. I did it just not too long ago. And I said, why didn't you go with your gut? Or I've made a decision based on someone else's input that I wanted to make them happy. And I
Hmm.
knew I knew I had that little scratch that, maybe that's not the best thing. That also happened not too long ago. And something I felt, I knew, and then you go, I knew it. Why did I do that? I knew it.
Hmm.
So
And
I
so
think
why did you do it if you knew it?
for those other external reasons, to make the other person happy,
Gotcha.
to, smooth over a situation. Yeah, for a reason, not really for me, for someone else, or what I thought, okay, let me make this person happy. They're in a position of whatever, position of power, or for, whatever political reason, things that you do,
Yeah.
um, work related or something like that. And I would and I had made a decision that turned out to not be the best. It wasn't a disaster. I'm thinking of one particular instance where I would have made a better decision had I really listened to my gut, which was telling me not to do it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, always listen. Your heart always knows. Your
Yeah.
head will say, no, I should do this because of this.
Yeah.
Then you start going around and around,
I understand.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
I'm trying not to name names or, be obvious in what the situations were. But yeah, I mean, when I look back at other, bad decisions or dumb things that I've done or interactions with people, had I come from my heart or my gut, I'll say my gut, um, it would have been a different outcome.
Yeah. Beautiful. Would you say you're a leader or a follower?
Ah, I guess I'd like to be perceived as a leader, rather than a follower. That's funny too, because in my old incarnation of life, when I was running, Hay House Radio, and I had the staff, and they would say, well, you're the boss. And I'm like, but I'm not the boss,
Right.
you know, but you are, and at first I kind of felt weird stepping into that role of doing that. So I would have to say it's not initially a comfortable place for me.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a better Indian than a chief. I don't like the buck to stop with me, and
I
I'm uncomfortable. I'd rather it be a democratic decision, but sometimes you have to assume that role and be the one that makes the decision.
So let me dive into that a little bit, just because I would like to see what your perception of leader is, and I want to paint a picture for you, if I may, and I want you to
Sure.
just get your thoughts on it. In just about every place that I look in the world, I see a crisis in leadership, whether it's in business, whether it's in medicine, whether it's in science, whether it's in education, whether I don't see people doing much to break away from the norm of what we're doing. For instance, we'll take a look at schools. I think my stepkids are learning in schools the same things I learned 50 years ago of how to learn. And we're not 50, the evolution of learning process has grown so much in 50 years, but we still stay in the silo of where we have always been.
Right.
perhaps the lowest hanging fruit that we can look at is in a political conversation now in America, because, and I don't really care which side of the aisle you find yourself on, we elect leaders to lead our cities, our states, our country. And what I'm looking at when I look at the leaders that we've elected are not people that are really leading. I'm looking at people that are really following the silo that they find themselves in. If they're a pro-Trump person, they don't find anything. They might find something wrong with Trump, and they might whisper things. And but when it comes to standing up and making decisions to say, these things you've done really, really well, but these things really are bad. I mean, and we really have to. We can't allow you to continue to do the things that are bad just because we like some of the things that you're doing that are good. If you're on the other side of the aisle, in the people that don't like Trump, the poor guy can't get a break. He walks every corner he walks around, he's hit by a wooden pole, and there's nothing that he's done that's good, and all that he's done is attacked for everything. But I don't really believe that. I believe somewhere in between those two silos is a reality that if we could gather around what's good about what's going on, what needs to work together, how do we work together to make what's good even better, rather than just say there's no good or there's only good. Does that make sense? And so even the people that we elect as our leaders seem to be followers because they don't have the courage to leave their own silo.
Right, right. No, that's so true. And the way the news cycle and the media is right now, we are all siloed. If you look at certain people's what they read, what they consume, what's on their Facebook page, they gravitate towards all the people that believe what they believe.
Yeah.
So they don't hear any other news or
Yeah.
any other information. They only hear that. And it's the same for the other side. They're only watching or consuming this information. So where's the truth? Where's the truth? And it gets harder and harder, and these videos pop up and you'll see someone speaking passionately about something. Like there was just this one doctor video, and you think, well, maybe they're right about that. And then it turns out to be fake or debunked. And so for the average person like you or I guess you can only really listen to your heart to discern what's true and what's not, and what's right and what's wrong for you, because we're just so siloed. And that's what really breaks my heart of where we are in this country right now. We're so divided, and I don't know where the sides will ever meet, if they
So,
ever will.
so I have a question for you, because I believe everything is a microcosm of a macrocosm, and what exists outside of us is what exists inside of us. And so, do you believe that, by the way?
That we're a
That the
microcosm of a macrocosm,
Yeah, the
like
world's a
Horton Hears
mirror.
a Who.
Yeah, pretty much. That the world is really a mirror of us, and that the way we see the world is the way we see ourselves in some degree.
To some degree, yeah, I'd agree with that.
So, if we are so divided outwardly, are we also divided inwardly?
Mm,
Are we
it's
at war with our,
possible.
like, I can tell you from a very personal, vulnerable place. When I look at the man that I am today, I really like the person that I see. I'm very content with the man that I am. Yet there's some things that I do that I've done for years and years and years that are causing me pain and causing me to have a harder way of living life than an easier way of living life. And I know those things. And I stand up to them every now and again and say, well, I'm not going to do this anymore. But the momentum of the weight of what it's been, of what I've done for so long, is continues to just play with me for a little while, let me think I'm getting ground, and then just roll over me. And if I don't have the strength to stand up to the momentum of my own self, how can I expect people that I elect, that I may or may not even believe in, they may just be the better choice of the two worst choices, to stand up to the momentum of the belief system of their party, their belief systems, or whatever it is? Does that make sense to you?
Right. And I definitely agree with you. And sometimes you're picking the lesser of two evils. But I think if you look at the whole big picture, I mean, maybe it is true what a lot of these teachers and people have been saying, that we are in such a place of accelerated, growth and evolution. And we're in this pain because all of this that we've buried for so long is coming to light. It can't stay buried anymore. And it has to be dealt with, the stain of racism and slavery and hatred. When I look back at the lessons that we should have learned, like, I mean, it makes me, you know, crazy and like physically ill if I see pictures of, Auschwitz and the Holocaust camps. And sometimes I've tried to put myself in that place of the person on that train going to one of those camps. How the terror I must have felt, or one of those slaves that were shackled in the belly of one of those wooden ships in the middle of the ocean. How could that happen?
Yeah.
How could we let that happen?
Yeah.
And maybe all of that collective fear and sadness is all finally coming to the surface, and we have to deal with it.
Yeah, because it
So
really isn't even anymore. How could we have let that happen?
how could it be?
How do we continue to let it happen?
Right.
And
Right.
when we were at Hay House, there was a woman who wrote a book on the massacre in an African country,
Yes.
right? Immokalee or whatever.
Immaculate. Yeah.
Yeah,
Immaculate.
and I don't even remember the country, but I remember
Rwanda.
Rwanda. I
Yes.
remember as people just were, we stood by and watched the Holocaust of what was going on, of the ethnic cleansing of a group of people, and nobody even did much of anything. And so it isn't like how can we, and I was a part, I mean, I'm not a part of the Holocaust, but my people were taken, in the Holocaust. And
Right.
so,
You may have
so
had relatives.
yeah, I did have relatives. Um, so the question isn't how could we have let that happen? The question is, how are we allowing it to happen? But how are we allowing it to happen within our own lives also? How are we allowing the continuation of belief systems that are not causing us anything but pain and suffering to continue to live in within our own selves? That's more is my question. So if we're
Right.
allowing it within ourselves, of course it's a macrocosm
They,
of what we
things
would
have
do.
to change, and we have to look at, people have to look at in their hearts and in their beliefs and what they were taught.
Yeah,
Maybe those are wrong. I mean, I try to think of, we all started out as innocent, beautiful babies.
maybe.
Even
Maybe. If you believe in reincarnation, I'm not sure that's quite true, but it's a nice story. Like if you believe in reincarnation, we've come in with a certain mission here to do. We've come in with, some things that we've carried with us from the past that we've
right.
came here particularly. But I'll go with your story for a little bit that we come in on this
Okay. No,
inferior
well,
plane.
I've heard that too. I mean, that's an interesting concept too. Did we choose to come back here? Did we choose our parents? Did we Is everything all mapped out already?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if I believe that.
yeah.
There has to be free will, right? And choice.
So a saint that I followed, who was my guru, Yogananda,
Ah, yeah.
Yogananda would say, we do have free will. Our free will is, do we want to ride in the back of the train or in the front of the train? But once we get on the train, which is this life, we've chosen to get on the train already from our free will was before we even got here. We chose to get onto the train. Now that we're on the train, we have to follow the course of what we're doing. It's like when we write a movie and we act in a movie, very rarely do the actors get to change the whole course of the movie. This is the movie. This is your
Right.
part that you play in the movie. You don't have free will in the movie to say, well, no, I don't want to marry this woman. I want to kill her instead, and I want to marry this woman. That's not if that's not the script. You can't do that. And so it's we have,
That's interesting.
but we have the free will to choose that part in that movie, right? That movie's offered to us. We could say, no, we don't want to play that part. We'll wait for another part to come. So I don't say it to change your point of view. I just
Hmm.
say it to sometimes people say, well, we come in with a very fixed idea of what we believe is how we come in, and maybe it's true, maybe it's not. So I didn't
Right.
mean to take away your story. So we come in
No,
pure and innocent.
it's
What were you going to say
interesting.
from that?
I think that we come in pure and innocent, and I think that your your environment and the choices that you make and the situation that you're in can all contribute to that. Now you could make other choices and you could change.
Yeah,
I mean, I like to think it is possible. I don't know if I believe in the predeterminism that I have no choice or I,
yeah,
I couldn't make a change, because I've seen people make great change in their lives and I've seen other people not.
yeah, yeah,
But that's a choice too, right?
yeah. And we don't know what the script of their movie is.
Right.
The
Eh,
script of their movie may be that that's the change. That's what the movie was going to play. Anyway,
could
we
be.
wouldn't know. It could be. It's probably just semantical right now.
But
Um,
it's fun to talk about, isn't it?
yeah, it's interesting. Do you believe people are more the same than they are different, or more different than they are the same?
Oh no, I think they're more the same. Absolutely. I think we all, when you get down to it, we all want the same things. We want to be happy. We want a nice home. We want to, if raise our children, if we have them, to be, wonderful human beings. Um, it's like the famous hierarchy of needs. I think
Yeah,
we all want, we do basically want those same things. Then it gets muddy, you
yeah.
know, after that.
So why do you think we focus so much on the differences that exist between us if we're all so much the same?
That's the 100 million billion question, right? If we would see our similarities rather than our differences, we'd
Yeah.
be a lot better off.
So we were talking about why, if we're so much the same, do we find and look at the differences between each other so much?
Well, and I also, just to add on onto that, I think a lot of that is learned behavior. If you're brought up in a household where your parents are telling you to, hate and distrust Black people, that's what you're going to believe until you experience otherwise. So I think a lot of it is learned,
It's
unfortunately.
it's really interesting. I wasn't brought up in that type of household, and I even thought I was even when I came out, I remember being mad at God for being white because I had made an agreement with him that I was going to be black. And when I looked down at my skin, I was like, "What did you do? You made me white." Um, but I took a standard test that Harvard gives that looks at the way we our biases on color,
Hmm.
and I was shocked to find out because I would think of myself as probably the one of the least racist people I know. But the results of that test were that I had a high propensity to like people of white color more than of dark color. And I was really surprised to see that that exists in me because we grow up with we go towards the light. We go away from the darkness. The what's good always is symbolized. The cowboys wear the white hats and the bad guys wear the black hats. And
Right.
we grow up with we don't even have to be taught to hate the color black. We're taught in the references. The president lives in the White House. He doesn't live in the Black House. It's just so many innuendos of the way we've been brought up to be racially prejudiced
Right.
that it's Santa Claus is white. He's not, I remember when I was in Israel leading people through a trip to the Church of Nativity uh, and seeing the stained glass windows where Jesus was every single different color and every different nationality. So Jesus was Japanese and Chinese and African American and white and Greek and it was in Indian. And I thought, no, that can't be. How can that be? But it's just shows the racial prejudices that we have.
Right.
Do you think that the world speaks to us? Do you think our businesses speak to us? Do you think that our bodies speak to us?
Definitely, my body speaks to me a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
you know I mean, that's how you can really take the temperature with, what's going on. What do I feel in my stomach? Why am I getting this headache? I mean, we
Yeah,
definitely should listen to our bodies. I'm a big believer in the mind body connection for sure.
fabulous. And so would it be too far of a leap to say that you feel like the universe is talking to us, or the environment's talking to us? And
Oh no, that's not a far leap at all. I think that's very true. I mean, we've done so much damage up until this point
yeah,
that, people that are denying, climate change is happening, and the damage that's being done to the earth will be at our peril, and definitely our future generations
yeah,
will suffer. We tend to think, oh, well, I'll be long dead by then,
yeah,
but
yeah,
then I might be back in another
yeah,
form. So
yeah,
I'll have to deal with it at some point,
yeah. What do
that's
you
the case.
what do you think everything is saying to us? I mean, look at the troubles we're going through. What do you think the universe is trying to tell us, or God's trying to tell us through all these things that are happening?
I think it's saying, wake up, wake up. We can't continue consuming at this pace. We can't continue just taking and taking from the earth, and not giving back. We have to wake up now, or something really serious is going to happen.
So,
That sounds so dire. Like,
no,
I know, but we do. We have to wake up.
yeah, but I mean, my daughter's developmentally delayed, and I tell the story a lot, but I won't go into the whole story. But she has a rhythm to her actions. When she speaks and she can't get, and she is not understood, which is most of the time, she'll go through a pattern of behaviors. She'll speak and she'll yell, and if she's not understood, she'll tantrum, and if she's not understood, she'll attack. And I learned from her how to understand her, because she was actually putting thoughts into my head because she couldn't speak. So we found a way to communicate. And if the story would have ended there, it would have been beautifully happy, because I'm thrilled to have that interaction with my daughter where we can speak telepathically, or I can speak to her and she can answer me back telepathically in thoughts that I didn't even know she knew how to say. But I feel them, and I know that she's talking to me. Um, what interests me is I took that into boardrooms of businesses. I took that into prisons. I took that into hospitals. I took that into schoolrooms. I took that into the way families interact with each other. And I saw exactly the same activities going. When people speak and they don't get heard, they yell. When they yell and they don't get heard, they create a scene. They create a tantrum. They try and make chaos. They try and create confusion. And when their confusion doesn't get heard, they try and attack. They might try and ruin the reputation of a person. They might try and destroy a marriage. They might try and shoot people in a square. They might try and blow up a building. But my daughter, who's developmentally delayed, taught me the answer to that, which is, if we would only listen when people are speaking, and if we couldn't hear them, if we could ask them to speak in a way that we could understand them, that we would understand them, they would never need to scream, tantrum, or attack. So if the world is following that same modality, where it's spoken to us, it's screamed at us, it's creating chaos, and it's going to attack, what do you think it would say if we would listen to it?
It would say, look, I've given you this beautiful planet. Don't you want to keep it? Don't you want to stay here?
Yeah,
What's the alternative? That this planet will be no longer. I guess eventually all planets will not exist at some point. Like stars.
hmm.
Don't they blow up or disintegrate? At some point. I mean, there's only so much we can do to this planet before it won't take anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think we have to listen. And I think that that's so interesting too with the communication with your daughter, because I think we're all energetic beings, and you're able to communicate with her on that level, on that energetic level. And I think we can all do better in communicating in that way if
yeah,
we would listen and pay attention.
yeah.
Read the room, feel what's happening with other people.
I love that.
Empathy.
I agree with you a billion percent. So if you winding down, if you had 2 minutes, you've already said a lot and shared a lot of who you are with us. But if you had 2 minutes to say to the world the one thing you would like them to know that might give them a pointer or maybe not even help them or fix them or change them, but just share something with them that you would want to share, what would you say to the world right now?
To the world,
Hmm.
it's not our fault. No, that's about something else. Um,
I don't mean the universe as an entity. I mean the people that are here
just
inhabiting
people
it. Yeah.
that, we are more, we all more are more alike than different. We need to focus more on our similarities, and we all really do want the same things. We want peace. I mean, you can't say that there's people that, although there may be people that want war, um, now that I think about that, but that we just need to be a little kinder, and let's try to all work together to get through this common thing, the COVID thing that we're dealing with, and come out the other side better for it. Don't let this be for naught. Let's learn the lesson and take, like you said, the good things, that, hey, we did need to slow down. Maybe we could spend a little more time with people, a little more time to listen, get quiet. Let's take those good things and move forward.
Yeah.
Learn the lesson of this.
Diane, I want to thank you for spending time with us. I thank you for the two interruptions that came in, and that no one will know are here because we'll probably edit them out. Um, I want to thank you for taking the time to just be here and share so openly from your heart. For those of you who
It's
listen to
been
this,
fun.
thank you. For those of you who listen to the show, I want to thank you also for coming. And if you like the show, please share it with your friends. The only way that this will grow is if we piece by piece connect to each other and share the things we like with each other, to see how other people like it, to see if they want to do something. If you want to have a conversation, that's how I'm spending my time these days. I'm here. Reach out to me. Contact me. I'll send you a link to my calendar. And the less that I know about you, the better, because I don't. I want to walk into this room as strangers and walk away as friends, because that's what seems to happen. So please do contact me. Please do reach out. Diane, is there anything else you want to say before we go?
I can't think of anything profound.
Okay.
I'd want to leave with something, fabulous. But you're
Okay.
great. Thank you so much.
Well, it's my pleasure, and thank you for. I think I don't want to allow the assumption to be made that your profound statement is that I am great. Your profound statement is there's nothing left to say, which I think is even better than that. Thank you again for being here. Thank you, folks, for listening. Until the next stranger walks into this room, don't be strangers. Take the opportunity to make these conversations happen. Everybody in the world is is better by having a conversation. The only reason we live in a world full of strangers is because we haven't taken the time to get to know each other. But if we take the time to get to know each other, suddenly a world of strangers becomes a world of friends. One by one, we can make that change. Let's do it together. I don't need to be the only one. You have your 50 conversations or just one conversation. Why not? Until the next stranger, thank you so much. Don't be strangers. Enjoy life. Thanks again, Diane. Ciao.